Alright, so the next thing we're going to want to do in this project here is remove the fan from the ceiling. First we're going to need to remove the fan blades. They're held on with 2 Phillips screws there at the base. You can just unscrew each one and set the fan blades off to the side on the floor. At this point you could have actually chosen to pull the light fixture off first, but instead I chose to do the blades. Either way is fine. Next we'll be removing the light housing. That's held on with 3 Phillips screws in a triangle pattern. You can just remove those 3 screws, lower the light housing, and disconnect a couple of wire connectors that's found inside. And then we could just set the light fixture to the side as well. Next we'll remove the fan motor and base plate cover. You can do that by turning it counterclockwise, and it'll just slide down out of the way. Next we're going to remove the motor from the base plate. There's 3 Phillips screws again in a triangle pattern that need to be removed. The motor is kind of heavy, so be careful, but there is a retaining hook there that will help you hold the motor up in place as you access the wiring and disconnect the connectors. You want to get those wires disconnected, and then once you're done doing that, we can slide the motor off the hook and set it on the floor out of the way. Next we'll remove the 2 Phillips screws that hold the base plate to the ceiling and just slide it over the top of the wiring and set it to the side as well. After you have that off, you'll have to remove the fixture from the ceiling, which is connected to a stud with 1 Phillips screw. Once you get that done, you can pry it down and relocate it to the location. Alright, next we're going to be marking the ceiling with the template provided with the recessed lighting to cut the hole out. I'm going to use a drywall knife to do this. You can see I used a vacuum cleaner to kind of help catch particles as they were falling. This was absolutely useless. I suggest not even wasting your time to do this, because as soon as you get the hole cut out, lots of insulation. I live in Arizona, tons of dust just falls right out. Now the mask and the glasses definitely were helpful. At minimum I would suggest using a dust mask because it was pretty nasty up there. After you have the hole cut out, you can take a piece of plastic or a magazine or whatever you have, just kind of slide it up in there, and what that's going to do is keep the insulation from continuously falling out and to keep the hot air from the attic from getting in the room itself. Next we're just going to double check our measurements, make sure it's exactly where it's supposed to be at. I do not want crooked lights on the roof. Now I'm just double checking my measurement, ensuring that I got the 3rd light there in a row. I just want to make absolutely sure this is square. Next, I just moved into the closet and cut 2 4-inch holes as well. The first things we're doing here are these 6-inch lights. They do not require a dome, but they do require a backing plate. I was actually reading online, some people are saying you only have to use a backing plate for these, kind of like the smaller ones. But the manufacturer is recommending to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. So these are adjustable. You have the 27K to 3K, to 35K to 4K, and the 5K. You adjust that by toggling a switch up in the light housing before you stick it up in the roof. Next. So actually what we're going to do is we're going to use 6 of these. I actually had to get 2 in a separate box, and then they had an actual kit of 4. So you save a few dollars buying a kit of 4. Make sure you get the matching styles. They make a bunch of different 6-inch lights, and then they also come in like the old bulb style twisting, and then they come in these LEDs. They come flat flush mounted as well as kind of like a dome inboard a little bit, so like a bowl upside down, if you will. That's these 6 lights here. These are actually going to go in the bedroom. There's a bigger light, nice flush, look how small. Then I'm going with 2 4-inch, same thing, recessed up lights. These say that, again, you don't have to use a backing plate for these. The manufacturer is saying the same as well, no backing plate required. Exact same as the 6 inches. You have the adjustable lighting, you know, the 27 to 3, the 35 to 4, and the 5. So yeah, basically the same thing as a 6-inch. Oh yeah, there's actually one thing I can mention about these. These actually articulate in the housing. Meaning, once you mount these things up in there, you can grab the light itself and actually turn it around as you need to 180 degrees. And with this sport, it is going in a closet. The closet's only about 25 inches deep. but I kind of want to keep the centeredness look to it. So what we're going to do is center that out, and then I can angle it to go the direction in which we need. So we're going to do 2 of these for now. I left room for a 3rd in case we need to, so I measured it out so it all stay even. All right, so here's our first light in there. As you can see, let's get in there kind of close. It's nice and flush there like it should be, but once it's mounted, it can articulate around wherever you need it to. Little small 4-inch light in case you ain't never seen these before. This is actually my first time using them. That's all it does. So these springs here come up, and then you let them back down and they catch the drywall. So next, let's get on to the buckets I was talking about, the mounts. But it's just a recessed plate, and then you're just going to be 6 of these. Real simple. They adjust to different styles. So if you got 16 on center, 24 on center. These came in a box of 6, so I just had to get 1 box. On our list here is some breakout boxes. All right, another thing you're gonna need if you're doing this as well, I'm relocating one of the, or actually I'm adding a light plug into the closet, just a 110 outlet. So what we get is these little installation boxes. This allows you to cut the hole in the drywall, and then as you adjust the tab there, comes up, comes down, and catches the drywall. I got some plugs here. There's a variety of different style plugs you can put. Plugs are for the boxes here. So you punch out the plugs, your holes you're gonna need in your box, and then you insert this plug. Wire connectors, I just went with a good universal kit. While I'm up there, I'm going to go ahead and drop a Cat 6 plug into her room. Here we got, this is for the closet. This is a dimmable light switch. Right now, so we'll be able to set what shade of color we like, and then we'll be able to set the brightness of this. This is going to be perfect. This is for the closet. And we'll find this Lutron switch here as well. So it has the light on top, fan on bottom, speed adjustment for the fan, speed adjustment for the, brightness adjustment for the light. So I don't have to run 2 switches. I can just run one gang instead of a 2 gang. All right, that's gonna go in the room. Cat 6 cable, 100 feet. So what we ended up doing for flooring, we went with a Pergo. If you're not familiar with what you need, they're labeled for what they are. So you know right there, smooth surfaces. I'm going to use something like this on the. I'm going to use something like this on the furniture because it's nice and smooth. And then I'm actually going to use something like, rough to very rough. This is just a rough one. I have another one in here. It's rough to very rough. That's going to be for the ceiling. And then I have extra rough. So we have the extra rough here for the ceiling, because it's got all the popcorn on it. So for painting the walls though, we're just going to use a rough nap. Then I just kind of just picked up a variety of different things, different sizes. I got the short ones here. I got some edgers, got some 4 inches and some 6-inch rollers here for like door casings and frames and stuff like that. Just a good, just a variety of rollers and stuff. Before you go up in the attic, I suggest doing 2 things. 1, draw yourself out a little plan for what you're going to do and how you're going to do everything. You don't want to get up there and this much wiring and forget what you're doing or get confused and wire something differently or route something the wrong way. There's insulation up there, it's hot up there, it's dark up there, it's just a miserable time as it is up there. There's nails sticking through from the roofing. It's just a tough time, all right? So what I'm going to do is round up everything, make a list, which I've already started doing here on the back. Make a list of all the tools and materials you're going to need while you're up in the attic. So what I did, I just got a little backpack here. I'm going to take this little backpack and I'm going to shove all the tools I need into it. I'm going to bring the halo lighting up with me, the domes up with me right now. And then we're going to get up in the attic and suffer through the heat. Stay tuned. It's nice and cool, right around 60, 65 degrees up here. Still pretty early in the morning, so I got a little bit of time before the sun comes up. So try to get this done as quickly as possible. Let me give you a little rundown on what we're doing here. As you can see, this little crawl space here is not very big. We do not have a lot of room to work with. So as you can see with that box there, and on the other side of that box, that little cutout area, that's where the 2 small closet lights are gonna go. Here, starting right there, that's 1 bed above the light. That's the bed in front of the, that's the light in front of the closet. That one's actually gonna be tougher to get to because those are down by the duct. Alright, next we're just going to be pushing away the insulation to where we're going to be mounting the LED light plate. It just mounts with 4 nails, one on each corner to the adjacent studs. Once you got those nailed in, you can slide the bracket over the top of the hole exactly where you need it, and then there's 2 screws you can tighten down to lock the plate in place. Next, I'll take my breakout box with my punch and hammer and knock out one of the holes, insert one of the plastic clips, and then feed my wire through. Next, we can strip back the wiring to the length we need, then cut each end off to the appropriate length. Using butt connectors, we can connect the wires together. Next, I'll put the box in the mounting location, and I will secure it in place to the stud using 2 Phillips screws. This is the best way I could find to get to the middle and farthest out lights. Was I took 2 scrap pieces of board I had, laid it across the studs, and then I was able to just kneel down on top of it. For the farthest out lights, obviously I couldn't kneel down, so I had to just kind of wiggle into there on my belly until I could reach over and do what I had to do. And if you're curious what it's like moving around up there, this is the best way I could figure to describe it. That'll sum it up for the attic. So now we can move back downstairs, and before we can start painting, we have one more step. We need to patch a couple holes in the drywall that I've been using to access the wiring for the living room. Now, some of these holes I can fill in completely. I no longer need access to them, but one of them I need to leave open, so as technology changes and I change out the technology, I can continuously hide the wires back behind them. And then to cut it, we're just going to use a razor blade. I don't have the slightest of hands, so I'm going nice and slow. I'm watching where I'm going, not exactly where I'm at, and it gives you a nice perfect line. After you get your baseline, you can run over it 2 or 3 more times, making sure you get a good solid score across it. And then what I'll do is I'll just round off the end. Yes, I know this isn't my final cut, but just to break it off, this will be the easiest way. Now that I have it scored, I can slide it off to the edge of the table. I can snap it off and then slide off to the back side of it and cut the actual drywall paper facing. Now at this point we can score our short end, and once it's scored we can lay it over the side of the bench and break it off as well. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our scrap pieces of board we got, and we're going to throw them across here for support, and we're fitting our drywall here. I've actually already went ahead and put this backing board in, so it looks like this for this long run, and for this long run here behind me. Alright, so yeah, let's just go ahead and get this one fit. Now we're going to take the scrap piece of wood and use it as a back support for the drywall repair, and we'll just attach it to the drywall using Phillips screws as well. So what I'm going to do here, got a little bit of a hang right there. Now this is nice and sturdy, we can move on to sanding. Be sure to sand the surrounding area as well, because you do have to feather in the repair. Alright, so a lot of y'all are probably better at this than I am. Just remember, you want to feather it in. Pretty good way. Now I'll take my damp dust cloth and dust off the surrounding area so that the spackle will stick. Using my putty knife, I will smash it into the crack, filling the crack as much as possible. And then after I have all the cracks filled, I'll come back with some actual drywall tape and putty over that as well. Again, I'm not a drywall repair guy, so I did the best I could. Turned out looking pretty well. Afterwards, I used some scrap molding to build a frame so that I could put an access door. Now that I have all the prep work finished and I've got the window taped off, I'm going to start laying some primer. I intend on laying a good coat of primer over the top of the bed frame and the closet, and one light coat over the top of the walls and the ceiling. Now you want to make sure you mix this up pretty good, especially if it's been sitting on the shelf for a while. And you only want to pour out what you're going to use. I find it easier just to pour small amounts of paint and use it at a time. That cuts down on waste. Now this is framing lumber and I did sand it down pretty good, so it is pretty thirsty. So I had to put several coats on it before it got a pretty good look to it. But once it quit soaking in, it laid down pretty flat and started looking pretty good. And the patches in the drywall turned out great. You can't even see where it was at. Now through movie magic, you don't have to sit through the treacherous number of coats of paint and primer we had to lay down to get everything to look nice and even. But once it did, it turned out looking actually really good for this color palette and combination. And this is just a still image of the room and of the closet before we put the final layers of paint. So we're going to build just a little door over here. I done framed it out, and it's just going to be an access so we can access the wiring into the living room. When I had painted the closet completely white, roof, legs, roof, walls, everything. Got the recessed lighting installed. Boy, that stuff's pretty bright. And for the painting of the ceiling, walls, door frame, and bed, this is it. It actually turned out really good. It's nice and even, nice and shiny. I have no complaints. We got the recessed lighting installed, nice and bright. It is on a dimmer switch, so we can adjust it. We did get the fan relocated. We just followed the steps we took to remove it, put it back in. And we do need to reinstall our little vent cover there, but it's getting cleaned and painted right now before we stick it back on. Alright, I really hope y'all enjoyed this episode. If you want to see more, smash that like button, subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to mention it down in the comments down below. And until next time, thank you.